We will race in a land down under, and that is the wrong race intro. 1 second. It happens every time. I change it over, and then it just doesn't work. Here we go. Either way, we'll race in a land down under where trophies glow, and one driver will plunder the rewards of today's race. We had an excellent race last week in RCR, but now we go to Australia, this 5.278 kilometer circuit, 16 turns with 10 to the right and 6 to the left. It's got an incredible 3 DRS zones here, them extended, I think, in 2019 or even 2022, I think, was when we actually got the 3rd DRS zone to improve the overtaking in the final sector, just as you get into it. Either way, though, it's a magnificent track. Had a few modifications over the years, but its character and spirit has always been kept very much the same. It's here where Mark Webber made his Minardi debut, a spectacular day for a legendary driver, and one in which Michael Schumacher is the most successful driver with 4 wins in 2000, 2001, 2002 and 2004. It's incredibly difficult for a driver here who starts on pole to finish in first in the race. Lewis Hamilton found that because he took pole in every season between 2014 and 2019, but only converted one of those pole positions to a victory, and that was in 2015. The track then, as I was saying before, 3 DRS zones and the 16 turns. You can see two DRS detection zones, the first, or in fact the second, being on the start-finish straight, the one just before turns 15 and 16. Leading the drivers down, and they get a double helping of DRS, and then the second one in Sector 2, leading into... It's 4 DRS zones. Jesus, missed that one. Either way. Huff and Dole back. Happy birthday. Not racing today. Raced last week, finished 3rd. The drivers' standings, as you can see on screen at the moment. Websy leading them by winning the first race of the season. 26 points, got the fastest lap as well, followed by Binary, Huff and Dolbach, I'm Mr. DJ, CJ, Slazenger, Volvo, BXTN, David Kovalaki, Santry, Reese Max, and FR Element. That's your 10. That's your 10-point scorers last race. At the moment, we are out on track with the Mercedes of Chris Takis. And the intro again. And I very much hope, as we're going to flick away from Chris Takis, as I think we've got a few people actually on a lap at the moment. We need to get our stuff together here and make sure that we've got... Let's have a look, see if we've got any drivers on a lap. Santry did go past Chris Takis, and he's on a lap. He's going through the second sector, coming up to the car park section now. That's turns 11 and 12, if I remember correctly. 4th helping of DRS, that one that I didn't account for. I think actually the one that I didn't account for is the one in Sector 2, or the mid of Sector 2, where they reprofile the corners there. And it's essentially just one big straight, or one curved straight, flat out, though, for these cars. So here he goes then, Sancho across the line. It's a 1:16.741. I'm not sure how happy he will be with that. Puts him on provisional pole, though. Slazenger Volvo out on the lap at the moment. So is Mr. DJ. CJ will stick with him. He finished in 4th place last week. Started in 6th. So moved up the field, but unfortunately for him, not how he wanted his first race to go, apparently. Not really doing well in the practice session either. A big lock up there into turn 15. This turn 16, this right-hander sweeping, you've got to get the power down as soon as possible, but without losing the back end. It's one of those where you can lose the traction, but CJ with a 16.4 puts it on provisional pole and puts himself past Santry, who at the moment has been dropped down to 2nd place. Joe Peller coming up to the line as well, and then we've got Slazenger Volvo following him. Joe Peller's on an in-lap, so that's a 22. Slaz goes in with a 1 minute, 16 seconds, and... or 16.385 seconds ahead of Mr. DJ CJ by just under a 1/10 of a second. And what of Chris Takis? Last week didn't show up. Here this week to begin his championship charge. And puts in a 1:16.7. Puts himself comfortably in 4th place, just ahead of Joe Pella, who began his lap earlier on. And in fact, we'll join Joe Pella as soon as he's on his lap now, and he's 800ths of a second up on his time, and 600ths now as he crosses through the second sector. Another reprofile corner coming up here. Turn 13. Did that to make it so it was a bit easier on the entry. Not as dramatic of an angle on the turn in for the drivers. Drivers finding it difficult to overtake there. So once they added the DRS on, the reprofile the corner slightly. Here he goes then, Joe Pella. Very quick driver. But this time around, it's a 17.2. Goes faster than his current time, but not fast enough. David Kovalaki got a supporter in the game at the moment, spectating. He's got Lex. He raced last season, but he's unable to race this season. David Kovalaki, slowest of all. It's a 17.5 for David. We'll just keep an eye on Joe Pella. Let's see if he wants to go yet again. I know he's not very happy with that time. In fact, this very much looks like an in-lap. It doesn't look very fast at all. We'll get that confirmed once he crosses the Sector 2 line. Yeah, 4 seconds down on his time. I'm the Pog. Incredibly fast last week. Started in second, just on the front row of the grid back in Canada. But it was heavy rain in that session. And then we moved over in the race to a completely dry race. And Pog didn't like those conditions. In fact, didn't like them so much. He started second, and safety cars, bad luck, and a little bit of his own driving as well sent him back down the field. He ended up finishing 11th place outside of the points. I'll be incredibly disappointed with that result. He's an incredibly fast driver. We're probably going to see that here now. He comes through. Final few turns. He looks absolutely hooked up at the moment. Nice red crash helmet corresponding with that Ineos branding on the Mercedes. And puts in a 1:16.2 and puts it on provisional pole, proving last week wasn't just the conditions. It wasn't a fluke. It absolutely was all skill. And let's see if he can stay there this session and then stay there in the race as well. That's the key. No points for qualifying, just puts you in a good position for the race. If you are just joining us, this is RCR. We race every week on Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. UK time. If you'd like to join us, just get in touch. We'll be very happy to accommodate and to see if you have what it takes to race with these drivers. Binary begins his lap. Last week, started 4th, finished 2nd. Great result for him. Considering his qualifying position, he's also very happy. Added a bit of glassware to his mantelpiece today as he just received his RCR trophy for Season 5. The winner of Season 5. Binary at the moment, fastest in the first sector. Can he put it on provisional pole? He's the last driver out on track at the moment to set a time. The lowest grid slot to win from at this track is 11th place. That was David Coulthard. He achieved that in 2003, and that would have been his final victory in Formula One. Binary though, wing wide open, no doubt he's going to finish higher than, start higher than 11th, and he puts it on the second row just behind Mr. DJ CJ. who despite his struggles in the practice session, has actually qualified quite high up, considering. Sancho with an invalidated time, binary obviously. Just finished his lap. Chris Takis to set another, and so's Joe Pella as well. We'll stick with Joe Pella, as we've been on with Chris already. Joe Pella yet to set a competitive time. So is David Kovalaki. He's currently 5/10 off. David Kovalaki almost 7/8 off. Those two will desperately want a result now, as it may be a short track. And BXTN says he's picked the soft compounds by accident, so when he runs 3 sets of softs on the bounce, that is why. Oh dear. So BXTN's strategy absolutely ruined. Joe Pella fastest in the second sector. This is looking good from Joe Pella. Absolutely hooked up at the moment. That McLaren is flying as it was last season in real Formula 1. But of course, we do use equal cars. So despite deliveries in the cars, they are somewhat equal. Not entirely equal, but as equal as they possibly can be. Here we go then. Joe Pella coming up to the line. It's looking good. It's a 16.3. Just misses out by just under a tenth of a second. And Chris Takis as well has improved on his time. He's up in 6th at the moment. Where is Websy? Websy's currently on a lap as well. We'll stick with Websy and just keep an eye on the timing sheets as well, because we've got other drivers that potentially will cross the line just before him. I believe that's CJ out on track at the moment, maybe. It's not. Cotton Goblin BX10. There we go. Websy puts in a 16.105. He's been looking competitive in the practice, and he's just proved that now. A provisional pole for Websy puts him up. And then CJ also joining his teammate, just misses out marginally by 0.08 of a second. Crossing the line there and putting it. It's a 1-2 for V-Carb at the moment. And the Red Bull of Slaz coming into the pits. Mercedes. Van der Pog on an outlap, just about to begin his lap here. And that's Joe Pella. He's retired. He's retired out on track. So Joe Pella, unfortunately for him, has retired. We're not going to catch what happened to him. Thought we'd be able to catch it from Santry's view. I guess not. So biggest story so far in this session, at least, is that BX10 has picked out the slowest or the softest compounds for the race by mistake, and that's ended up with him not having a set of hards, I believe. Taken to the race, he's pretty much guaranteed to be on an alternate strategy. This track ramping up. Pog at the moment just slower than his previous time, but at the moment fastest in the second sector. So lost a bit in the first. Can he pull it all back? He is only 1.9 hundredths of a second behind. 1.9 tenths of a second, sorry, behind Websy at the moment. BXTN also out on track in the Alpine. Around the last corner he goes. DRS wide open. It's a 1:16.174. It almost looked like a 15 there. And that splits the two V-carbs. BX10, plenty of clear space ahead of him, but can't utilize it, unfortunately, because he's invalidated his lap time. And maybe BX10 is probably better off coming into the pits, actually. Pitting, then putting on a fresh set. Yeah, and that's exactly what he does. No surprises there. I'm sure the drivers that watch this back all get sick of me mentioning Slazenger of Volvo's achievements. This man right here, the only double world champion in RCR so far. We have only had 5 seasons. Two of those he won back-to-back. So he is the driver with the most glassware on his mantelpiece. Just sitting there, looking at him, reminding him of his glory days and how he'd like to get back to those glory days. Last week started 7th, finished 5th. No stranger to winning. He's coming up now to begin his lap. A bit too harsh there on the curves, and yeah, he's already backed out. In fact, he's already invalidated his lap time. So Slaz will be very disappointed with that. Cottony Goblin not setting a time. We've got the garages now. You can see a bit of commotion as we get down to the last few minutes, and already drivers all flying out of the pit lane. That's Santry, who's just come out as well. And I think that's BXTN, who's managed to get himself ahead of this pack. Was Santry a bit early? BXTN leading these 3 cars. All of them will be on their final attempt, including Slazenger Volvo, who will be the first to start his lap. That's who will join. It's now or never, though, for Slaz. He's on a 16.3 at the moment. And since he set that time, this track has definitely ramped up, rubbered in a bit. The track, obviously, green when the session starts, and the rubber gets laid down. Generates more grip for these cars, and then the track getting to optimal temperature. Cottony Goblin retires from the session. And Slaz begins his lap. He's got to get this right. Much better, much improved. It's absolutely flat out now for all these drivers. This is the last attempt they will make. And they're almost all tripping over each other here, as you can see in the final sector. In the bottom right-hand side of your screen on the track map, you can see all these cars bunched up together. They will all make it, though, based on the time left in the session. But this is the final lap of the race. Slaz flying at the moment. Can he put himself further up, touch the grass a little bit there on the inside? He's down on his time, 0.04 of a second. So it's all to do in the final sector for Slazenger Volvo. Websy and CJ in close proximity to each other as well. Will they give each other a bit of a tow in the DRS zone, depending on which way they are around? But here goes then Slaz. Round the final corner he goes. He's the first one to set the final times, and he crosses the line with a 1:16.196, goes 4th place. And Santry here as well, rounding out the final corner. Puts in a 1:16.5. That keeps him in 5th place. BXTN comes into the pits. He can do no more. Where is Mr. DJ CJ? He's behind Websy. Websy comes around the final corner. Can he extend his lead even further to keep provisional pole? Yes, he can. It's a 15.8 from Websy. Mr. DJ CJ next. Puts it in a 1:15.9. Binary with a 1:16.1. And I'm the Pog has invalidated his lap time. He's slowed down. BXTN into the pits. And that is all she wrote for all of them. That is Websy. I'm Mr. DJ CJ. Websy on pole position, takes pole, and he's joined on the front row by his teammate. Incredible turnaround from CJ. But in the moment, it is very much Websy dominating with a 1:15.8. And the win last week with the fastest lap. And he set himself up nicely. But as I mentioned before, driver on pole doesn't always finish the race in first. It is all yet to play for. And DRS here, incredibly powerful 4 DRS zones. But we'll go through then the drivers one more time before we take a quick break. So then there you have it. Websy starts on the front row with his V-Carb teammate and Mr. DJ CJ. Both of them in the 1 minute 15s, the only drivers to get into the 1 minute 15s. Then you've got Binary, I'm the Pog. They're on the second row. That's Alpine and Mercedes. Slazenger, Volvo and BXTN, Red Bull, Alpine. Chris Takis and Joe Pellet share the fourth row in the Mercedes and the McLaren. And Santry and David Kovalaki, 9th and 10th, Haas and Kick Sauber and Cottony Goblin. The only driver not to set time in the Williams remained in the pit lane throughout the entire session and will start 11th place, just on the fringes of the points scoring positions. So then, if you are new here, I will have to, be a bit repetitive, but if you are new here, this is RCR. We race every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. GMT time or UK time for the uninitiated. We have been going for about 5 seasons now, about 4 games, if I remember off the top of my head. So obviously when the next one comes out, when F1 25 comes out, we're jumping over to that. So if you'd like to sign yourself up or like to join, absolutely join us. We will be very happy to have you. You do require a Discord login. You do require, some bit of racing ability. But other than that, that's it. That's all you need. We do have a 5-minute break now, just between the sessions, so the drivers will be able to pick their setups and go get refreshments if they need to do so, and just make sure that there's nothing that will distract them once they get into the racing. It's a 50% race, which usually lasts about 45 minutes to an hour. So they will very much be locked in and have no option but to just keep driving away once the helmets go down, once the Fanatec's and the Thrustmasters, if anyone has, or Logitechs, they all got their own little wheels. A couple of them are on controllers. And yeah. Great to see the mix of skill, though, in terms of there's a couple drivers on controller. For example, I'm DJ CJ, who got into the 1 minute 15s. He's on controller. And so is Slazenger Volvo, I believe. And yeah, Websy's on wheel. So those two, CJ and Websy, very close to each other, the two teammates. And, well, yeah. Just great to see there's not too much disparity between the wheel and the controller. CJ will tell you that the wheel has a massive advantage, but don't listen to him. Can't race on the wheel. Shall we go through some trivia while we wait then? Danish driver Kevin Magnussen finished second in Australia in 2014 on his debut. It remains his best result and his only podium finish to date. It will be his only podium finish thus forth, as K-Mag no seat for 2025. The race also marked McLaren's last podium result over 5 years. I think that's a bit wrong. Yeah, the last podium result, and then they went on for 5 years and then got another podium at that point. But either way, hey, Mag. Magnussen, not the only driver, though, to take a podium on his debut at Albert Park. Jacques Villeneuve and Lewis Hamilton both did the same in 1996 and 2007, respectively. See, that 2007 race, famous for Lewis Hamilton going around the outside of his teammate on the first corner. That was soon reversed, though, after a long strategy. Put Hamilton behind Alonso, who was very much the #1 driver in terms of the start of the season. It takes an estimated 290,000 man-hours to assemble the circuit every year. Many people think that this is a permanent circuit, despite, obviously, it looking like a street circuit because it's so classic. And yeah, I think a lot of people mistake this as an actual circuit. It's actually put together every time they race here, and 290,000, couldn't get that out then, 290,000 man hours to assemble the circuit every year. That's incredible, isn't it? Trying to hear the game audio. There we go. Yeah, it is playing through. So then, here we go. Formation laps. May even get a little bit of a cheeky look at the race strategy here as I'm Mr. DJ, CJ, and Websy start to pull away slightly from the field. Let's get the interval on and let's see what tyres everybody has opted for. So we have I'm Mr. DJ, CJ, and Websy on alternate strategies. And there you go then. There's your strategy. One stop from lap 13 to 16 if you're on the medium, and obviously opposite, do 16 laps. And then go on to the end of the race if you're on the hard. Or 20 laps, sorry. Big gap between Binary and his teammate BXTN. 2 drivers between the two of them. Slaz at the moment, no teammate for him. Doing it all on his own in the Constructors' Championship. Last season was absolutely fantastic, so no doubt as this one begins, there's going to be some absolutely epic moments throughout. And this is a great track to display the skill of all these drivers on. There you go, the strategies again. 13 laps. You will come in for fresh hard tyres if you are starting on the medium. If not, you'll be doing about 20 laps and then switching over. But basically, it is a one-stop race. A one-stop race strategy, BXTN. One to look out for in terms of strategy, as he's mentioned to us that he has accidentally picked the softer compounds for the race. Here we go then. All the drivers lining up on the grid. Got a poor angle. It's lights out. Away we go. The drivers do get off the line, but we can't see exactly in which order to do. Amos DJ CJ slots in just behind Websy and manages to get himself defended against Binary behind. I'm the Pog in 4th place. BXTN remaining in 5th. Slazenger Volvo has had a bit of an accident, has moved down several places, down into 11th place, right behind Cotton the Goblin. He's got to be very upset with that because Cotton hadn't qualified at all, and Cotton the Goblin up 2 places already into 9th place as Slaz makes his way past David Kovalaki, who resigns in 11th at the moment. They're all getting through fairly clean at the moment. Didn't really see any contact between any drivers there, just Slaz off the track, but it looked like he had an entirely intact car, so you would assume that he has just made a mistake somewhere of his own accord, but maybe we can get a look at that later on after the stream. I'm the Pog. Closing in on Binary. These drivers, they've got to get away here. They've got to try and open up a gap. I'm Mr. DJ CJ going to struggle with those hard compound tyres as Websy has opted for the medium. And will Websy be able to use that to his advantage? Pull away from CJ. CJ's all over the back of Websy at the moment. And early on in this race, no team orders between the two of them. You've got to assume. And Websy crosses the line and starts to put a little bit of distance between himself and his teammate. And there's the champion, the defending champion, just behind Websy closing in. But I'm the Pog, hot on his heels and all over the back of that Alpine, the Mercedes driver, cutting in there into turn 4. And swooping through. Difficult to get this circuit right every single lap. You're going to watch some drivers pick up penalties, especially early on in this race, before they realise that they need to keep it reined in, because penalties will play a crucial part here. We play with the strict corner cutting rule set that all the drivers will be very tentative when it comes to crossing over that white line and making sure they keep all 4 wheels on the tarmac within the confines of this circuit. CJ still all over the back of Websy. Binary all over the back of CJ now as well. Got a good chunk of drivers here, all close together. DRS playing its part. Of course, DRS this season with a activated after just 1 lap. BXTN overtakes I'm the Pog with a magnificent overtake and gets right up behind his teammate as well. BXTN is absolutely flying at the moment. Just a 10th behind Binary. And will he be able to utilise that here? CJ with the fastest lap time. Websy at the moment struggling on those medium tyres. You think that with him being the fastest in qualifying, he would be able to pull away. But as of yet, not really showing the pace that he showed in qualifying. Is the pressure of the race and having his teammate hunting him down getting to Websy at the moment? Potentially so. A magnificent bit of track this, as he weave left to right and try to keep a hold of the car, wrestling 19,000 RPMs. It's absolutely incredible to see all of them so far, so good. And BX10 is all over the back of Binary, isn't he? Closing in on his teammate. And he's really got to make this count early on if his strategy is going to play a handicap to him later on in this race. You can see him having a little look there, potentially thinking about a bit of a dive on the inside, because he knows he's got to make this count. Got to get up front, start pulling out a gap, offsetting pit stops to ensure. He's had a little bit of a twitch there, and that means that he's now put under pressure from Pog behind. He's actually managed to get a good exit though out of the final turn. We're just looking down the field. Is anybody making any overtakes? No, they're not. This DRS train proving to be very convenient for drivers defending from behind, because you may have DRS, but the driver ahead has DRS as well, which in turn just nullifies the effect. And what a great showing at the moment from Mr. DJ CJ, keeping with his teammate, who is on the faster tyre. Gibbs says, get on Halo. I'll get on Halo. We're watching Formula 1 at the moment. So very close, isn't he? Look at that. All over the back of Websy at the moment. This is great to see between these two teammates. And is this a repeat of last season for CJ? Obviously very early on. But he's got his teammate. And actually CJ looking on the inside there, but no. Thinks better of it. He has to remain behind still. Websy under pressure, but keeping his cool, not making any silly mistakes. But as the laps tick on, as Binary's made his way, or Pog has made his way up into fourth, it looks like BXTN has had a bit of an error somewhere, because he's moved down into sixth place, right behind the two Mercedes. But as I was saying, as the laps keep ticking on, and for these drivers that are on the medium tyre, as round the outside goes Mr. DJ CJ into the car park session, he manages to make a magnificent overtake on his teammate. Absolutely incredible. And that was absolutely epic. Be proud of that one. And as I was about to say, I'll get round to the point finally. These drivers that are on the medium tyre are going to be struggling as it gets later on in the race, because the tyre deg is going to play a crucial part. 5 laps in, I doubt that it's made much of a difference. We've got a caution in, it's a safety car early on in this race, and that is Santry, I believe, who's had an error, made a mistake out of the final turn, and that is a Haas without a rear wing, without a front wing, sorry. And David Kovalaki swoops into the pits to get rid of those medium tyres. He's going to switch on to the hards and maybe potentially think about going to the very end of this race. It could be done. This track for tyre deg not very high. And obviously with that safety car, you don't have the drivers don't use as much of the tyres, so the tyres will go for longer if you do switch on to the harder compound at least. I've seen some drivers around here go through to the very end on the medium tyre, so not sure if I think it'll be around 20 laps that they'll have to do on them though. I'm not sure if that's doable. But I'm pretty sure something close has been done before in earlier seasons, and this season the tyre degradation is incredibly low, which is why most of these tracks are one-stoppers. So CJ, followed by Websy. And let's see what these two do. They're obviously stacked up. They know that if they go into the pit lane together... And there you go. If they went into the pit lane together, they would have had to share a garage. And that's exactly what the two Mercedes have done. They've both come into the pit lane to switch tyres. And that is very unfortunate. I'm the Pog coming off the hard tyre. I don't really think he needed to do that. Off the hard tyre onto the medium. If I was Pog, I would have opted to go long and just pray for another safety car. I would not have done that. Either way, though, that has really hurt his teammate who had to share a garage with him. And for now, Chris Takis now down in 7th place after being in 5th place. Joe Pillar's looked out here with that and is now on hard tyres in 5th place and looking at potentially being in the fight up front. So then CJ continued on. Didn't come into the pit lane. Let's see if anybody else did. Let's see who didn't, sorry. He's the only driver to not have come into the pit lane, to be honest with you. I feel like that was the right choice for him, though. Despite him being the only driver not to pit yet. I think he had no other option. Hog opting to go onto the medium. So we'll be faster. But we've seen DRS is ever powerful around here, but it is still difficult to overtake despite that. Rolling out of the final few turns. The safety car usually out for a few laps. CJ, as I said, started 6th, finished 4th last week. This week, started 2nd, is currently 1st. So still moving up the field. ...2008 Australian Grand Prix. It was indeed a chaotic one with just 7 drivers reaching the end of the race. A multitude of incidents saw 5 drivers end their races on the first lap, while Felipe Massa and David Coulthard had a sizable coming together at turn 1 before the race had reached half distance. The largest crash of the afternoon was for Timo Glock as he ran wide and broke his suspension, sending his Toyota car at the time airborne. And then Rubens Barrichello on top of that was disqualified from the race for having left the pit lane when the red light was showing. So red light was on due to the incidents, due to the crash, and Rubens Barrichello's come out and then got the black flag, been disqualified for dangerous driving essentially because he came out of the pit lane while the track had been red flagged and the race had been stopped. Him coming out of the pit lane, that was caused by him actually having his fuel nozzle, because the cars were still being refueled in the pits back then. Still had his fuel hose still attached to the car, and he drove off and had to get it removed. And then obviously one thing led to another, got distracted, and yeah, came out of the pit lane while the red light was on. So then, here we go. Mr. DJ CJ is the one that's setting the pace for the cars ahead. You've got the safety car that has started to pull away, has pulled away from the field. And now it is up to Mr. DJ CJ to decide when this race begins again. No overtaking for any driver. In fact, CJ is gone. Big lockup though, but a massive gap between him and Websy. Websy, what has happened to Websy? Websy's got the game. That's very interesting. Websy losing out and manages to get himself, and Binary made an overtake on Websy by mistake. And Binary almost getting a penalty there. I missed the DJ CJ 1.7 seconds ahead of his teammate Websy. That is an absolutely incredible as BXTN and Joe Pello and Chris Takis all very close together, getting very close, banging wheels. In the inside goes BXTN and Chris Takis trying to maintain position here. The Mercedes though losing out, and that's going to put him on with immense pressure from Slazenger of Volvo behind him. Bits of wheel banging there between the Mercedes and the Alpine, but as I was saying before, I'm Mr. DJ CJ in an incredible position at the moment. 1.3 seconds ahead of Websy. That nice buffer though is coming down. 1.1 seconds between him and his teammate. And Websy's almost getting into DRS already, and that is incredible. He's dragged down then 1.8 seconds all the way down to a second now. And those fresh tyres, unfortunately for CJ, paying off on every car apart from his, because he's got those 9-lap old now, those 9-lap old hard tyres. So ignore the safety car. That's just a glitch. So after the safety car comes in, that remains there, unfortunately. But at the moment, Websy, the fastest man on the track at the moment. And closing in on his teammate, who didn't come into the pits after that safety car. He didn't really have a choice. He was on the hard tyre. And that would have meant switching to the medium and then potentially not going to the end or struggling to get to the end. CJ banking on, another safety car coming out. And I don't blame him for banking on that. We had 3 safety cars in the last race. And we've had a safety car for the majority of the final race of the season as well, last season. So Binary though pulling off the same move that CJ did on Websy earlier on, but the two of them still side by side fighting it out, and Websy incredibly manages to stay ahead of the defending champion. And that's actually put Binary under pressure from Pog, who's trying to remain on the outside, and Binary running to the inside of the circuit there, manages to defend well, manages to defend incredibly well from I'm the Pog there, who had no choice but to slot in behind after he remained too far behind the Alpine. And here goes Websy then. Websy with DRS wide open on CJ. CJ basically is sitting duck, but is the DRS zone not long enough? It looks like it isn't. And Slaz actually has the fastest lap of the race so far with a 1:18.8. That's put him with an extra point as Websy overtakes CJ. And see, that looks very much orchestrated between the two of them. CJ very much knew that that was going to happen at some point anyway. May as well. Oh, CJ struggling though. A bit of a twitch there. The back end of the car complaining. He's struggling for grip. He's struggling to stay with these drivers and maintain the grip levels that they have. And at the moment for him, that means, unfortunately, that he's wearing down his tyres even more. He's got DRS though. But Binary slotting in just behind. He's all over the back of the V-Carb car, the Racing Bull, the RB, and that looks like CJ lives to fight another day this lap. And these two are no strangers to battling each other on the track. CJ and Binary last season were teammates and fought it out for the championship to almost the very end of the season. Binary though, Binary picked up that championship win, and towards the end it was very much looking like as Binary gets past CJ, and it looks very pedestrian. A very easy move, and so does Pog as well. CJ is sitting duck basically at the moment, just praying for this pain to end. But that's all he can do. That's literally all he can do for the time being. There's no real way that he could have boxed and then switched to the medium tyre and gone to the end. Let's see if other drivers do that. We've got Slazenger of Volvo at the moment on that strategy, on that very strategy at the moment. So is Chris Takis, but he's down in 7th place, and that would have been roundabout where CJ would be as well. Actually, CJ would have been further up because the Websy and him would have had to stack. Websy would have been the one that lost out in time. Pog at the moment having a little look. There goes Joe Peller, losing places to BXTN, and now BXTN behind I'm Mr. DJ CJ, and with that second helping of DRS as well. Out of the car park section they go, and the Alpine very close to the back of the RB, but unfortunately for him, Gonna have to wait a little bit longer, and he's actually dropped down 4 tenths behind now. Mr. DJ CJ now has BXTN and Joe Pella. He's having to look in his mirrors as well, because Joe Pella is just behind him in the McLaren and closing in. Binary at the moment. CJ gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, and that's going to hurt, because if he's praying for a safety car, that means that the field is going to get bunched up and he's going to have those 3 seconds of time penalties, which will demote him even further down if it's a later safety car in this race. Look at how close everybody is. That's essentially netting CJ down into 9th place behind Slazenger Volvo at the moment. Or into 8th, should I say. Santry gets a 3-second time penalty as well. And CJ losing that place to BXTN. It was on the cards for about 2 laps there, and now it's finally happened. I say finally. It didn't take very long, did it? But it's just the nature of the beast at the moment by Mr. DJ. CJ can't do anything, as he didn't come into the pit lane. Couldn't come into the pit lane, really. It wasn't really the optimal strategy. And we'll... he's just got to hope that either a safety car comes out or he can bring himself back into this race later on. We are only on lap 13 of 29. We're not even at half distance yet. We're getting close to it, but we're not there just yet. As in the background goes Santry into the wall. It's a DNF, and that's exactly what CJ would have been hoping for. And commiserations for Santry, though. Into the wall he went, out of that corner in the exact same place he did the last time. Just couldn't get the power down without losing the back end. It's a difficult corner to do. That means that Santry out of this race, out of the session, and leaves very dejected by that, no doubt. Where does this leave everyone? These drivers know that they can go to the end on these hard tyres. Pog now guaranteed to go to the end on these medium tyres almost, because he's going to get a further 3 laps with no proper running. Going to be able to get himself right up in the mix and potentially for a win, which will redeem himself for last week's X-Scourge, starting on the front row and then unfortunately finishing outside of the points. It's a very different story here today. He's up in 3rd place on the podium at the moment. Coming up to half distance now, is into the pit lane, goes Binary. That was quite dangerous, wasn't it? So Binary opting to pit, Websy staying out. And that's medium tyres. No, it's another set of hard tyres for Binary. Interesting. And BXTN stays out as well. So that's Websy and BXTN. They've only done a short bit of running. The Binary just doing the opposite to what Websy does. CJ on medium tyres. Got to switch. Now can go to the end. And the safety car will collect all of these cars, including David Kovalaki. Run them round for a few laps before we get racing again. This circuit, Eddie Irvine is the only driver to have celebrated his maiden F1 victory at this particular track. He won his first Grand Prix with Ferrari here in 1999. Didn't go on to win many races. Did Eddie Irvine? But that was one of them. Of course, the 2012 season was the first ever season to feature 6 active world champions competing in a race, in a season. And due to that, the Australian Grand Prix being the first race of that season, it was the first track to ever host 6 competing Formula 1 World Champions, as Cotton and Goblin gets a familiar feeling. A 10-second time penalty this time for ignoring a yellow flag. And he's doing this week in, week out as of late. Unfortunately for him, picking up penalties coming into the pit lane, and he's done so again. 10 seconds, which he's serving immediately. So, the Williams team not able to touch the car. 10 seconds feels like an eternity, doesn't it? At these normal speeds. Cotton the Goblin gets out. Ian's warming up those medium tyres. He's going to try and get to the back of this pack before we get racing underway again. The Aston Martin safety car leading them around for what will probably be the final time. And history, we'll go back to a bit of history. It's here that Brawn showed the rise from the ashes as Honda announced their withdrawal from Formula 1 at the end of 2008. Jenson Button and Rubens Barrichello were left without a drive. Luckily for them, the workforce at the workforce at the Brackley factory, Ross Brawn stepped in to save the team. Brawn GP turned up to the Australian Grand Prix having set impressive winter testing lap times. Their pace was confirmed as Button took pole and then went on to win the race. First win for the team, making their debut as Mercedes in 1954. Weaving left to right goes Websy at the moment. He's got his former teammate BXTN getting very close behind him. But Websy has pulled the trigger, jumped the gun, and off he goes. 5 tenths ahead of BXTN. 6 tenths now. BXTN caught up sleeping there. And Binary at the moment all over the back of the Irishman. But we have a slight disparity between the two tyre compounds. Both hard compound tyres, but Binary with fresher hard compound tyres and getting very close indeed to the back of BXTN and CJ with that 3-second time penalty. We've got a virtual safety car somehow, someway. What's happened there? That's David Kovalaki maybe? David Kovalaki on the restart, losing his front wing, and that's caused a virtual safety car, and off into the gravel trap he goes as well. So that's a virtual safety car. That's 2 safety cars and a virtual in quick succession. That is a shame. So then the difference between the virtual safety car and the normal safety car will come out, pick up the drivers, do a few laps around, and then bunch them all up, and off they go. The virtual safety car, no car actually comes out. The drivers don't get bunched up at all. The drivers instead have to drive to a delta time, in which they just basically drive slow, and then they can't drive too slow and they can't drive too fast. It basically keeps the race at a nullified state until the damage has been cleared up. They are a lot shorter than normal safety cars, and depending on where you are on the track, it can be a massive benefit or a massive downfall, as Websy looks like he's about to find out here because he's coming up to a corner, and that looks like, there we go, I think it's gone green. Hasn't gone green just yet. There we go then. And Websy's just picked up a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. He's managed to pick up a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. What an incredible upset. And Binary and I'm the Pog at the moment close to each other because Binary's slowed down a lot. And what is going on here? BXTN has moved down several places as well. And this is allowing Mr. DJ CJ Websy with that drive-through penalty. That has got to be absolutely heartbreaking. He controlled a lot of this race, including pole position, and he's now looking at potentially eighth place if he serves that drive-through. Off goes the track. Who's gone off the track there? I think that was Joe Peller going a bit too deep into turn 13. CJ on the back of BXN. Into the pits goes Websy. He's got no choice but to serve that penalty. An absolute heartbreak, though. But there you go. That's exactly how. As Joe Pellet comes in as well and gets a new set of medium tyres and a front wing as well, I believe. And Binary now leads this race from I'm the Pog, who's on those medium tyres, hunting down Binary. And Binary's just got to keep... Oh, two cars have come into contact. It's Mr. DJ CJ as well with a broken front wing. BXTN has retired from the session. I think he's had a bit of a contact there. Into the wall to go. Two drivers coming to there with Chris Takis now up into 4th place. Absolute drama here in the late stages of this race. We're 2/3 of the way through. BXTN leaving the session. Very, very upset. DNF'd from this race, retired on the track, and is a caution in Sector 2, Sector 1 at the moment. But that is BXTN out of this race, and very, very upset, no doubt. Very quick to leave the session, wasn't it? Which means it's going to be very heated conversations in the server later on in the afternoon, in the evening here. What an incredible upset, though, for these drivers. And I can see at the moment we're actually getting some choppy stream going through. So, see if we can improve that a bit. So Websy served his penalty. He was looking at 6th place. CJ's had to get a new front wing. Joe Pella again with a new front wing and fresh medium tyres. They may even be used medium tyres at this point. And round the outside of Pog goes Binary. Pog getting that place off the Alpine. But it was very short-lived. Obviously 13 seconds off the competing pack. But hasn't lost out too much. He's not really going to catch them from there, but it could have been a lot worse for the driver. But it's been a bad day for RB. Started 1st and 2nd, now down into 5th and 6th. Pog and Binary close together. Chris Takis trying to join this fight as well. And let's have a look at the tyres they're all on. 6-lap old mediums for the 3 drivers behind. Binary potentially on for a winner here, as those tyres will stay fresher for longer. And if he can hold on, which he looks like he is doing, a 10th behind though goes Pog. But a great exit from Binary means that it's not going to happen this lap. Just a short DRS zone. Up to turn 13. Several drivers coming together there. I think it was CJ and BXTN. I can't be too sure though. Obviously. What a shame. Those two have some incredible racing together, but sometimes it does go wrong. And that was one of those instances. And the race becoming somewhat nullified now. And Binary putting on a bit of a masterclass at the moment. This is what he's known for. Being in the right place at the right time, picking the right strategy, having the pace to pull it all off as well. And what a great feat this will be for him. He manages to win this race. Moved up 2 places from where he started. Chris Takis as well, up 4 places. On a day to forget for RB. It's certainly looking like a day to remember for Binary at the moment. Sure, BX10 will also want to forget today as well. As will Santry. DNF'd both of them. BX10 could have continued on, but I don't think he wanted to after that contact. Here we go, though. Closing in on the final stage of this race. Pog is closing in on Binary still. It's down now. That gap down to 4 tenths between the two of them. But Pog has 3 seconds of time penalties to contest with. He's got to, 1, get past Binary. And 2, pull out 3 seconds on top of that. It'll be tall order, isn't it? Speaking of tall orders, though, Chris Takis has lost 3rd place to Slazenger Volvo, who is storming through this field at the moment. 2.1 seconds closing in. That time is coming down. That interval between Pog and Binary at the moment coming down dramatically. Medium tyres for Slazenger Volvo, and is this? It's 9 laps old, so I don't think he's going to be able to close in too much, but we'll see. Pulling away from Chris Takis at least. As I say that, the RS Open, the Mercedes closes back into the Red Bull. It's been a tough race for a lot of these drivers. It's been incredibly difficult as well, no doubt, for all of them to stay consistent, and for those that have kept the penalties off to do that as well. As Binary gets overtaken by Pog into turn 1, and now Pog, lap 25 of 29, is going to have to pull off an incredible feat here. He's going to have to try and get 3 seconds up the road from Binary. Is that even possible to do? Going to have to pull out almost over a second a lap. Yellow flags. Who is that with the yellow flags? A Slazenger Volvo has made a mistake somewhere, pushing too hard, and managed to put himself back down into 4th place. That's Chris Takis back into the podium places. It's Mercedes, Alpine, Mercedes, Red Bull, RB, Williams, Kick, Sauber and McLaren, your remaining drivers in this race, the remaining cars in this race. And Binary at the moment looking at a win. Maybe not on track, but it's definitely doable. Binary just biding his time as well. He may have lost the place to Pog, but Pog is on those medium tyres, and those medium tyres do not last forever, as Binary then moves to the inside of the track on lap 26 to 29. He takes the lead of this race and is closing out here, and it's looking like Pog has absolutely no answer for Binary whatsoever, because Pog has that 3-second time penalty to contest with, and now he's also behind the reigning champion, unable to do anything about it. Stories of this race so far: Websy took pole, Websy led the race, dominated a loss of it, lost places to CJ for a bit of time, but then got back into the lead of the race. later on. But unfortunately for him, a virtual safety car came out, and then he didn't stick to the delta time, which I was talking about during that moment. And unfortunately, because he didn't stick to the delta time, when the safety car ended, he picked up a 10-second. He picked up a drive-through penalty, sorry, which led him into 5th place. Fortunately for him, it could have been 8th place, but some drivers had some trouble halfway through, and it's only netted down to 5th. And these two, the closest drivers on track at the moment. Maybe it's all just to, in Pog's eyes, it may just be a bit of sentiment to say that I finished ahead of you. To Binary. But even if he does pull ahead at this time, it looks like, unless Binary makes a big mistake, of course, it looks like Binary has this all in the bag. Even if Pog goes past, he's then going to pull out 3 seconds on the Mercedes man, which, on the Alpine man, sorry, which, with 3 laps to go, it's not happening, is it? His teammate Chris Takis, great race from him as well. Slaz was looking so fast at one point and just made a mistake, pushing a bit too hard. Has ended up down in 4th place. Still though, great result from him today. Up a place from where he started, and look at that, the 2 RBs both down 4 places. They started 1st and 2nd respectively, and now the 5th and 6th. So harsh relatives as CJ picks up another 3-second time penalty. That won't matter though, as Cottony Goblin is 18 seconds behind him. Pick up a few more of those and it not matter. David Kovalaki and Cottony Goblin at the moment very close to each other on the track. This is the battle on track, at least, for 7th place. David with those penalties as well. Same story up front with Pog, as David makes an incredible overtake on the inside in the kick Sauber into the car park section he goes, and that sounded a bit nuts and bolts there, getting down a bit too much, and I think that's actually allowed Cottony to come back at him. The DRS zone there just a little bit too short for anyone to do anything about it. And Pog still not giving up, still keeping the pressure on. But the reigning champion remaining cool and collected. Goes through car park turns of 11 and 12. Coming up to the final lap. And it's looking very good for Binary at the moment. It's a great angle. Why couldn't we get that angle on the start of the race? Could you imagine? Looking at the cars from the front. Either way. Sure, this man would have been happy with the podium. But it's not looking like that's happening now. Last time we came here in Season 5, it was Lex on the top step, Websy in 2nd, and BX10 in 3rd. All 3 of those drivers are not in contention for a win. Lex not in the race. Websy down in 5th. As Pog goes to the inside, battles it out with Binary. Binary manages to hold on. No, he doesn't. Pog manages to stay ahead. Binary touches the grass. He's desperately trying to get ahead, but now I think for Binary, it's Binary spun it. Binary has spun it late on. He resets the track. And that's exactly what Pog needed. Binary under pressure has spun it on the final few corners. And it's actually now Pog that wins, I believe, his first race in RCR. Crosses the line and wins the Australian Grand Prix. What an incredible upset. Late on in this race, Binary finishes in 2nd place, 2.2 seconds behind the man that he was leading all the way up until the end. And there you go. there proves it. You got to stay in it to win it. And Pog, I was writing him off the entire time. And Binary, no doubt, incredibly upset with that. He was looking to win the race there up until the very end. And Pog manages to take the win and got very close, Chris Takis, to taking second place away from Binary. Slazenger Volvo finishing fourth. Websy, upset for him. He started in first place. He finishes fifth. And RB had a bad day. I'll say it one more time. CJ in sixth. It's not been a good race for many drivers. Across the line goes Joe Pillar and David Kovalaki as well, rounding out our finishing drivers. I'm just going to turn this off. I think I'm in out of the party again. It's disconnected me. So either way, yeah, resets track exactly. Which I think is going to cost him even more, to be honest. I don't think you can reset to track. I have to review the rule book, though. Either way, there we go. Then on the top step, I'm the Pog. Maintains a cool head, maintained the pressure on Binary and manages to pick up the win in an incredible fashion. And that, I think, is his first win for RCR. And an incredible win at that. Stayed in it. Manages to kick the ladder out from Binary. Binary could do nothing about it. That potentially is a Mercedes 1-2 if Binary gets a penalty for resetting to track. Either way, we won't talk about that now. We'll go over the race results. First place then, I'm the Pog, finishing and picking up 25 points to his championship campaign. Binary in second place, commiserations to him. He did an incredible race though. Started in third, finished second. So still a good result, but unfortunately for him, he'll be very upset with that result. Chris Takis third. He rounds out our podium and potentially going to get second place. Slaz fourth. Websy fifth. CJ sixth. Cottony seventh. David Kovalaki eighth. Joe Pella ninth. BXTN 10th. And Santry 11th. I'm Mr. DJ CJ. Picking up the fastest lap of the race and gaining an extra point for him. So then. Yeah, what an incredible race. It's I really didn't expect that. I was writing off Pog all the way up until the end, saying that there was no way that he was going to win. And yeah, well, proved me wrong, didn't he? Be very happy with that. And I'm sure, as I said before, Binary's going to be incredibly upset with that. So yeah. Just going to flick over to the chat now. Well done at Websy. That's Chris Takis telling Websy well done to yeah, and then there's loads of people typing in the chats at the moment. We've got, hang on, let's just have a look. Congratulations to Pog. Everyone's giving congratulations to Pog. Binary has been obviously caught out by the drivers, and they've said, Huff Dolbach says that Binary would have finished third if he had not reset. Yeah, but you'd never know if he'd appeal a pen. Who'd appeal a pen? I don't get that. Either way, though, yeah. So obviously, drivers giving the congratulations. But an incredible win from I'm the Pog late on. And a few drivers there. We'll have to find out from them for next week. What exactly went on between BXTN and Mr. DJ CG, if those two came together, or if one of them just lost the back end of the car and collected the other. Either way, that is an incredibly difficult corner where they did that to do so. So I'm potentially thinking that one of them lost the car and then ended up putting it into the other because they just collected them, lost control, and then collected the other driver. Either way, though, like I said throughout the stream, we do race every single week. On Tuesday, sorry, I said Monday to Friday. We don't race Monday to Friday. We race every Monday. We race every Tuesday. Wow. Just get it right. Just get it right. That's all I need to do. Just get it right. And let's have a look. Yeah, race every Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. GMT, British time, UK time. You did make contact, but he crashed into the back of you. It's on him. That's Pog asking if he doesn't know if he can celebrate. Did we make contact? Yeah, it's on him. So there's no, in my eyes anyway. Like unless there's a different angle or a different explanation of it, but from top down, it very much looked like you made contact by, yeah, just crashing into. He crashed into the back here. I think he just didn't expect it to be that slow, but it's up to him to do that. In my eyes, anyways. But either way, like if there's any kind of clip, I'm sure it'd be very enlightening. Either way, we race next week at Zandvoort, 9:30 p.m. on Tuesday, UK time. Would very appreciate anybody who's going to come and watch, and I'll see you there when we get there.